Hey guys, Matt here, and welcome to a very special episode 5 of the Vocabulary Series, where we go through a game, a section in a game, and we break down every single sentence in the scene that we look at, covering all of the language and grammar, but with a real focus on the vocabulary as we cover the grammar and things in other videos. So in this special episode chosen by me, we are going to be covering the Musou game for Berserk. So kind of like the Dynasty Warriors style game of Berserk. In English, it's known as Berserk and the Band of the Hawk, which makes no sense if you know much about the show, but this is one of my favorite anime mangas of all time. It was one of the first ever anime stories that really captured me and just blew my mind and made me so loving the story and wanting to know more that I eventually bought all of the manga that was available at the time. And at this time, manga wasn't very easy to get, so it cost something like $30 per book. It was incredibly expensive for me when I was younger, but I absolutely loved this story, Berserk, and because of the recent unfortunate news where the creator, the author, Kentaro Miura, he has passed away, unfortunately, and so I figured this might be a nice opportunity to, it's my choice, episode 5 of the vocab, it's my choice, so I thought, hey, let's cover something that I really want to cover. Now, this video may not be monetized because this game actually has quite a few problems with copyright because it actually uses footage from the movies that they made. So if this video isn't monetized, shogunai. Hopefully I make some nice content for you guys to enjoy learning Japanese with. And hey, if you like this kind of thing, feel free to support us on Patreon and join the community on the Game Gengo Discord. Now, in this video, we are going to be covering 215 new words. We're going to learn a lot of new vocabulary. As we can see, we're going to learn 4% of the N5, 3% of both the N4 and the N3, and then 1% of the N2 and N1 again, putting our total at 7% of the entire JLPT's vocab now learned in 5 episodes. Wow, that's pretty crazy. So, in this episode, we're going to go up to 21% of the N5, 14% of the N4, 10% of the N3, and then a nice cool 2% for both the N2 and the N1, as well as 300 additional other words that don't exist in the JLPT. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
Omae wa 自分の戦をするんだろ。
So starting things off here, we have Guts, the main character, kind of waking up from a dream, and there's this battle raging on. So the first word, yume, this is a very common word that we've already learnt, and it means a dream, so he's woken up from this yume, the dream, and then Guts says, ikusa no mae ni. So ikusa here is another word for a battle or a war. Now we've already learned senso, which is another word for a war. Here, this is ikusa referring to the battle that's happening, so you'll often see this word being used. The Japanese definition of ikusa is literally just going to a battle with your weapons to fight an enemy. So a battle. Then we have no mae ni. So ikusa no mae means before a battle. Mae means before something. It can actually be physically in front of something, but it could also be with the time frame before something. So ikusa no mae ni, and then he says engi demo ne. So engi here means a kind of omen, a sign of luck, or it can be the beginning of something. Now here referring to being luck, so it's not a good luck, right? It's not good luck. Engi demo ne. This is an expression. Engi demo nai is the same as kind of saying tondemo nai. It's not good. So there is no engi, right? There is no good luck. So to have a dream before a battle is bad luck. That's kind of a translation that you could have of this sentence. Yume, ikusa no mae ni engi demo ne. And so in a very cool transition here, we can see this war raging on. And this voice, the narrator, says, Toki wa ransei. So toki means the time, wa means as for, so it's kind of as for the time, so as for the time, the setting of this story, ransei. Ransei here means it's the turbulent times, so it is a time of war, right? Rather than a time of peace, it is a time of turbulence. And so here he says,
Toki wa ransei. ミッドランド王国とチューダー帝国は100年にも及ぶ長き戦いを繰り広げていた。
So in this first part of the sentence here we have Midorando Okoku to Chuda Teikoku wa. So none of this is new language, we've learnt all of this. So Midorando is Midland, and then Okoku is the royal kingdom, right? Some sort of kingdom. Then we have Chuda, so that's the name, the Tudors, and then Teikoku. This is an empire. So we can see that there is something with the royal kingdom of Midland and the empire of Chuda. 100年にも及ぶ長き戦いを繰り広げていた。So, 100nen. 100 is 100, nen is years, put it together, and we have this new word, a century. 100 nen, 100 years. So, 100年にも, so also up to 100 years, oyobu. Oyobu means to kind of reach a certain amount. What amount? 100 years, 100 nen. So, 100年にもoyobu, to even reach 100 years, Nagaki Tatakai. Nagaki means to be a long time or a long distance. Nagai just means long, but here Nagaki, this is referring to some sort of long distance or long time. So a long time of Tatakai, a long battle. So a battle of a long time, 100 years, and then Kuri hirogete ita. So this means to kind of unfold. So saying that, you know, the battle has been unfolding piece by piece for over 100 years. So just a very kind of creative way of saying that this battle has been continuing on for a very long time. So you could translate this as kind of like the battle between the Midland Kingdom and the Tudor Empire has been a battle that is unfolding for up to a century long. The battle has been going on for up to 100 years.
100年にも及ぶ長き戦いを繰り広げていた。戦をなりわいとする傭兵団は隆盛を極め。
Then we have 戦をなりわいとする傭兵団は隆盛を極め. So there's some pretty difficult words in this sentence. First, 戦, the battle. 戦をなりわいとする傭兵団. So this is one part of the sentence. So we know Ikusa is a battle, and then we have this new word Nadiwai. Now, Nadiwai is just meaning to kind of make one's living doing something. So we can see here some occupation or livelihood. That means that we are making the battle one's livelihood. Ikusa o Nadiwai to suru Yohei dan. And Yohei dan is just a group of mercenaries. So it's a group of mercenaries that makes battle their livelihood. And then we have wa, so as for that, ryusei o kiwame. Now, ryusei is just to be very, very flourishing, right? Making a lot of money, doing really well. And then kiwame is the most extreme, right? Doing something very, 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 very much. So to be very much flourishing, so as for the mercenary groups who make a living with war are flourishing to the utmost extreme.
戦をなりわいとする傭兵団は隆盛を極め、戦争は彼らのものとなっていた。
戦争は彼らのものとなっていた. So, 戦争, as I said, we've already learnt this word, that's just for a battle or a war. So, 戦争は, as for war, 彼らのものとなっていた. So, 彼ら is those guys. 彼 is him or that guy. 彼ら, as we have the ra, is like a pluralizing suffix, so it's making it them, right? Not just him, them. 彼らのもの, so a thing of theirs, となっていた. It has become. So war has become something that they own, right? War belongs to the mercenaries, right? This is the mercenary world, that kind of feeling, right? So
戦争は彼らのものとなっていた。ここにも戦に身を投じる傭兵が一人。
ここにも戦に身を投じる傭兵が一人。So ここにも Koko is here, koko ni mo means also here. Ikusa ni, so into this battle, into war. 身を投じる傭兵が一人. So, 身 is one's self, one's body, right? 身を投じる, 投じる here is to throw. So it's to throw oneself into something. Used here with this second definition where we see to devote oneself to something. So you devote yourself, 身を投じる, into battle, 戦に. So who does this? 傭兵, the mercenaries. So, the mercenary who throws himself into battle, a mercenary who dedicates his life to battle, 戦に身を投じる傭兵が一人. There is one person. So, referring to Guts here. Here as well, there is one mercenary who has devoted his life to battle.
戦に身を投じる傭兵が一人.
Okay, and so the battle has begun and we're now in control of Guts. And so here as we're slashing through one of the enemy guards, here he says, "Tsukome!" So, tsukomu. Now, tsukomu means to kind of thrust into something, to kind of plunge into something, to charge into something. So, tsukome, this is now an ordering form of tsukomu. So, the imperative form telling you to charge, right? So, thrust into them, tsukome. And then we have taisho kubi o ageta mono ni wa. So, taisho here is a general. Right, this is someone who is the head of an army. Taisho kubi is the head of a general. So we're doing something to the general's head. Taisho kubi o, we're doing something with it. Ageta mono. So ageru means to kind of raise up. It can also mean to give. So here it kind of has this image of, offering up, right? Whoever can offer up the general's head, whoever can have and give the general's head. So, taisho kubi o ageta mono ni wa. Mono here is interesting because we've already learned mono means a thing, right? We saw it just before. But this time, mono actually means a person. And we can see it being used here with this kanji. Now, this kanji is very, very common and you often see it either read as sha or mono. And here, we're talking about a person, so it's mono. Sha is generally used for like occupation and things like that. So here we have a person who can offer up the general's head, ni wa, so to them. And then we have this interesting word next, hobi wa omoi no mama. So hobi here is a prize or a reward. So to the person who can offer up the general's head, hobi wa omoi no mama. So omo means to think and mama means to be in the condition of, to be in the state of. This is actually an expression to say as much as you want, right? All you can desire, omoi no mama. So to one's heart's content, I will reward you. Who's going to be rewarded? The person who gives the general's head. So we're trying to break into the castle here, and so one of the Tudor soldiers here, he says, Koujou heiki de. So with the Koujou heiki. What is a Koujou heiki? Well, Koujou is the castle siege. Heiki is a weapon. So a weapon for sieging a castle. So ko is attack, jo is the castle. Koujou, attacking the castle, castle siege, heiki, the weapon. Now heiki is very commonly seen as some sort of larger weapon. It's not usually like some sort of weapon you have in your hand, but it can often be used for things like military weapons, war, weapons of war, nuclear weapons. Heiki is very, very commonly seen in this way. So here we have a military weapon to break down or siege the castle. Koujou heiki de with joheki o koeru. So jo, we already know is castle. Jo heki, this is the walls of the castle. So heki here is the wall. Jo heki o koeru. Now koeru actually means to exceed, to go beyond, or in this way, to go over. So jo heki o koeru no da. So noda is telling people that's what we're going to be doing, kind of like an order. This is what we're going to do, right? You should do this. So with castle siege weapons, you are to pass through the castle wall. Then he says, toritsuku teki o haijou seo. So toritsuku here means to kind of to cling to attach to something. But what this is referring to is teki, the people. And it's a very interesting image if you think about, the enemies that are clinging to the walls. That's what he's talking about. But no, he just means all of the soldiers that get in your way, right? All of the soldiers that you face. Haijo seo. And so haijo here is to completely remove something, eliminate something, get rid of the enemies that stand in your way. So use the siege weapons to get over the walls, eliminate the enemies that surround you. Okay, and so next Guts is just chopping through these guys, and so here he says, この調子でぶった切っていくか. If we have a look at this language, here he says, この調子で. Now, 調子 means the manner of doing something, kind of the condition of doing something. So just like this, just how I'm doing, この調子で, and then he says, ぶった切っていく. Now, this word, if we look at the English definition, means to kind of chop. This sounds a little bit unnatural if you think about it, right? I'm just going to chop through you. But if we have a look at the Japanese definition of this word, we can see 勢いよく切ること. So this is the thing of cutting something with force. So, to kind of really, emphatically cut something. One thing interestingly to look at with this kiru kanji, read as giru, this is actually used when you're kind of killing someone, chopping someone down with your sword rather than just chopping something with your scissors. So this kanji that we see here, it is the same as just kiru to cut, but it's more used when you're talking about killing something, defeating something, right? Like here with your sword. So, just like this, I'll chop through you guys, huh? Okay, so now we're climbing up the walls and this guy says, 城壁に登れ。上から侵入するのだ。So, 城壁 we know is the castle walls, and that's what we're climbing up. So, 城壁に登れ, this is the act of climbing. Noboru is to climb up something. Nobore is the imperative form. So, he's saying climb up the castle walls, exactly what I'm doing. Then he says 上から. So, 上 is from above, right? From the top. Kara is from, ue is above. So, 上から from above, 侵入するのだ. Now, 侵入する, if you've played Metal Gear Solid or if you've seen my videos, you'll know this means to kind of infiltrate, to kind of enter into something, right? And so here he's saying, to break in from above. So you could translate this as climb the walls, break in from above. 城壁に登れ! 上から侵入するのだ! Okay, and so back into the cutscenes and we see this very large enemy cutting down soldiers, and one of the soldiers says, Bazuso da. So, it's Bazuso. And then we have here, Bazuso te, ano 30 nin giri no. So, Bazuso te, that means, speaking of Bazuso, ano, that, Sanju is 30, Sanju nin is 30 people, and then Sanju nin giri here is a person who has cut down 30 people. So here we can see the kiru, to kill someone with a sword, right? To cut down someone, to slay someone. So in a way, you could kind of look at this as Sanju nin giri, meaning a 30-man slayer. So here they're referring to the fact that Bazuso is this 30-man slayer. They're like, huh, you mean Bazuso, the 30-man slayer? And then they continue on describing Bazuso, and here they say, Kuma o sure de taoshita toyu. And so Kuma is actually the Japanese word for a bear. Now, if you've played Tekken, you'll know there's actually a character called Kuma, literally bear. So Kuma o sure de. So sure means just your bare hands. De, with the empty hands, taoshita toyu. So taosu here is to defeat something. Toyu is now talking about that guy that, so toyu hito, right? Toyu hitokiri, right? The guy that defeated a bear with his bare hands, bare hands. Kuma o sure de taoshita toyu, the one that killed a bear with his bare hands. Kuma o sure de taoshita toyu? Doshita? What's wrong? Kind of sounding like Bane here with his mask. What's wrong? どうした?
どうした?頭を叩き割られたやつから前出ろ!
And then here Bezuso says, 頭を叩き割れたやつから前へ出ろ. So, 頭 is your head, right? Not your face, but your head, right? So, 頭を doing something to your head, 叩き割る. And then 叩き割る here means to kind of to smash or to break something into pieces. 叩き is to hit, and then 割る is to kind of break, like if your cup or your plate breaks, it'd be 割る. So it's to hit and to smash, hit and to shatter, right? So to break in your head, right? So 頭を叩き割られたやつ. So 叩き割られたやつ, this is someone who wants to get their head smashed in. So someone who wants to get their head smashed in, から from them, 前へ出ろ. Mae is, as I said before, in front or to come forward. So 前へ to the forward, to the front, 出ろ come out. So whoever wants to get their head smashed in first, step forward.
頭を叩き割られたやつから前出ろ!
Okay, so back to the gameplay here, and Guts refers to Bezuso, and here he says, あいつがあっちの稼ぎ頭か. So, あいつ is that guy. So as for that guy, あいつがあっちの. So, あっち means the other side, right? So, こっち is here, そっち is over there, and then あっち is over there. So he's referring to the other side of the battle, right? The enemies of the battle. あっちの稼ぎ頭. So, 稼ぐ means to earn something. 頭 here is another reading for atama, for head, but it means the kind of chief. So, 稼ぎ頭 means the person who earns all of the money, right? The leader who earns all that money. The breadwinner, right? So, he's saying that this is the kind of the battle's strongest opponent, right? Kasegi gashira. That guy is their breadwinner, huh?
あいつがあっちの稼ぎ頭か。
この腰抜けどもが金玉が縮み上がっておるわ。
And then we have some dialogue with Bezuso, and here he says, この腰掛けどもが金玉が縮み上がっておるわ. So, is kind of a way of saying, well, so, then we have この腰掛けども. So, 腰掛け here is, you can see the definition is kind of a seat, a bench, or a temporary job when you're looking for a better job. Now, none of this actually makes sense. So here, this word is actually used to talk about someone who kind of doesn't sit down for a job, doesn't commit to a job. Often talked about with people who join a company, but they're not actually willing to commit to it. Here, he's kind of calling them pussies, right? He's kind of calling them rookies. He's calling them people who, can't commit. These people are only thinking about how to get a better position in life, not the love of battle. This is what he's referring to here with this interesting expression. So he's referring to these guys as kind of, just pussies, really. So that's what I've translated as. He's like, these pussies. Then he says, Kintama ga chijimi agatte oru wa. So this is a very interesting piece of language. The first one is kintama, and this is the colloquial kind of slang way of referring to one's testicles. So kintama ga chijimi agaru. So chijimi agaru is to shrivel up. So what shrivels up? Kintama ga. So your testicles shrivel up. So he says that you guys are a bunch of pussies. What? Have your testicles all shriveled up? So already some interesting language in this episode here with kintama for your testicles and chijimi agaru to kind of shrivel up. Now this is actually a set phrase. So we can see here kintama ga chijimi agaru means to shrivel up in fear, to tremble in fear, or literally for one's testicles to shrivel up. So I've translated this kind of sentence as, these pussies, have your balls shriveled up in fear?
この腰抜けどもが金玉が縮み上がっておるわ。何をしておる。奴を打ち取って名を上げか。
And so the tutor soldier here, he says, 何をしておる? What are you doing? 奴を to them 打ち取って名を上げんか打ち取る. So uchitoru here means to kill someone with a weapon. So see how you see it in brackets. This is important because in the Japanese definition, it literally says to use a weapon to kill someone. That is uchitoru. So uchitoru, to kill someone with a weapon. So yatsu o, kill them with a weapon. Na o agenka. So na o ageru, this is actually to raise one's name. Na meaning a name, like you might see in Kimi no na wa, right? Your name is. So na o ageru, we've already seen agaru, right? To go up. Ageru here is to raise your name. So to gain fame. And then it's agenka, this is kind of like, won't you do it, right? So won't you raise your name by killing these guys with your blade. So,
何をしておる。奴を討ち取って名を上げか。
いくらだ。俺は傭兵だぜ。あんたと違って名誉じゃ飯食えねえんだ。
and here Guts replies with Ikura da. So Ikura is a really common, super common expression to say how much. You may even learn this in your first day of class at a Japanese class or something. However, what you won't learn is this kanji. This kanji is really important. This is the kanji for Ikura. Now we can see it actually being used in the game. This is actually what was written. So Ikura, the kanji for how much. So he's saying how much, right? How much will you pay me? Ikura da. Then he says, Ore wa yohei da ze. So ore wa, as for me, yohei da ze. I am a mercenary. And then kishi to chigatte. So kishi here is the knight, right? Where you have the kind of royal knights, that is a kishi. Kishi to chigatte. So different to the knights, meiyo here is one's honor, right? So meiyo ja, if it's the case of having honor, meshi kuenenda. Now, meshi is a kind of masculine, rough way of referring to food. However, it doesn't have to just be about food. It can also mean to make one's living, right? So it can both be the food that you eat, but it can also be your livelihood, your living, right? So, meshi kuene. That means I'm not able to eat, right? Or I'm not able to make one's living, right? So you can see how it can mean both things. Now, ku here means to eat or to live, to make one's life, right? So you can see that, you know, they're very much connected, these two phrases. Both to eat food, meshiku, could mean to eat food, but meshiku could also mean to actually make one's life. So here he's saying that he is different from knights. He can't, you know, make his life. He can't survive on honor alone. How much? I'm a mercenary. Unlike a knight, I can't eat with honor alone.
いくらだ。俺は傭兵だぜ。あんたと違って名誉じゃ飯食えねえんだ。
よかろう。見事奴を討ち取った暁には銀貨10枚、いや7枚だぞ。
So yokaro means very well, all right then. So this means fine, okay. And then he says, migoto yatsu o uchitotta akatsuki ni wa. So migoto here means to do something splendidly. However, this is actually a different use of this word. If we have a look at the second definition, to do something completely. So here it's like utter defeat, total complete, right? To finish off the job. So to completely yatsu uchitotta akatsuki. So yatsu, that guy, uchitotta is to kill with a sword. So to completely kill that guy with a sword, to utterly defeat him, akatsuki. This is a really interesting piece of language because some of you guys who are Naruto ninja fans, you might know Akatsuki from the organization, the kind of bad guys in Naruto. But Akatsuki is actually a word in Japanese that means a dawn or a daybreak, right? So when the sun rises, when it dawns, when it breaks day, that is known as Akatsuki. However, it also is used here in the second definition, meaning in the event of. So in the event of this happening, right? So when it happens that you completely defeat him, migoto yatsu o uchitotta akatsuki ni wa ginka 10 mai. So ginka is silver coins. Gin is silver, ka is for the coin, the currency. So a silver coin, silver currency. Ginka 10 mai. So 10 is 10, mai is the counter for flat objects. Now it might be a piece of paper, here it's for a coin. So he's saying, I will give you 10 pieces of silver coin, right? So ginka 10 mai. Yeah. No, actually, 7 mai da so. So nanamai is now 7 pieces. Daso means that I will give. So he's actually changing his mind. He's like, oh, I'll give you 10, I'll give you 7 silver pieces if you completely kill him. And that means, very well, 10 silver coins in the event of successfully defeating him. No, actually, I'll give you 7.
よかろう。見事奴を討ち取った暁には銀貨10枚いや7枚だそう。
Sekoyaroda. So ch is kind of like a tsk, right? Like kind of like a flicking your tongue like a ugh. And then sekoi here is actually meaning stingy, right? So here it's kind of stingy, petty, sly, cheap. The real meaning here is cheap or stingy because he's not giving him the full amount. So sekoyaroda. Now, yaro just means a bastard, that guy, right? So, baka yaro, you damn idiot, that type of thing. Here it's sekoi yaro, means you're a stingy bastard. So, I've translated it here as meaning cheap bastard.
小僧、後悔するぞ。銀貨7枚でその頭を叩き落とされるんだからな。
And so Bazuso here is talking to Guts and he says, Kozo, koukai suruzo. So kozo here means brat or young kid. And this is often used to refer to someone and kind of speak down to them and say, you know, you're a brat. This is actually the name that the trainer in Hajime no Ippo talks about his young apprentice, you know, his young boxer. He calls him kozo. And this just means youngster or kind of a brat. So here Bazuso is talking down to Guts and he says, Kozo, koukai suruzo. Now, koukai is to regret something. So, suruzo means you will do it. Zo is kind of the really emphatic yo. And normally we don't speak like this in real life, right? Yo is enough, right? And that's why you see zo as often called as kind of anime or manga speech, because we're never really that emphatic in real life, right? It's too much. Yo is enough. However, if you want to be silly, you can use zo instead of yo, just to be really emphatic about something. And here that's what we're doing because this is the world of, you know, Berserk, and it's very, you know, interesting and fantastic. And so here he says, you're gonna regret it, kid. Kozo, koukai suruzo, ginka nanamai de. So with 7 silver coins, sono atama o, doing something to your head, tataki otosareru. So tataki we know means to beat in. This time otosu means to fall down, to kind of to drop. So I'm going to beat in and it's going to fall your head, sono atama. So he's saying that I'm going to knock down or knock off your head. Sono atama o tataki otosareru nda kara na. You're gonna regret this, kid. For 7 pieces of silver, your head will be knocked off.
小僧、後悔するぞ。銀貨7枚でその頭を叩き落とされるんだからな。貴様のような鉄の青い若造が戦場に立つとは、そちらは相当の兵員不足と見える。
Now, this sentence is a very difficult one. We have lots of new language in this sentence. So, starting off here, Bazuso says, Kisama no yona ketsu no aoi wakazou ga senjou ni tatsu to wa. So, first, kisama, you. A way of talking about someone in a rude way. Kisama no yona, so some sort of guy like you. Ketsu no aoi. So ketsu here is actually another word that's kind of dirty. This means your ass, right? So just the ass, right? Ketsu no aoi. So aoi is blue, right? Also sometimes green for like traffic lights and things. But this is actually referring to the inexperience of someone. To be kind of blue bummed means to be inexperienced. And actually, if we have a look at this set phrase, ketsu ga aoi, here we can actually see that it means to be wet behind the ears, inexperienced or immature, from the bluish tinge of a children's buttocks. So I can't say I've ever seen a blue tinged bum, but maybe. And this is where he's referring to him being inexperienced. He's calling him a child, and that's where we can see this expression ketsu ga aoi. This is to be inexperienced. So you are an experienced wakazou. And wakazo is a derogatory way of calling someone a youngster, right? So here also we see a greenhorn, some not really a language I'd ever use, but a youngster, right? Wakazo. Waka means, being young, zo meaning to be made of something. So wakazo, to be made of youth. So if we just look at all of this, he's saying that, a really inexperienced youngster like you ga senjo ni tatsu to wa. Senjo is the battlefield, tatsu is to stand or to kind of appear on something. So to walk onto the battlefield, to appear on the battlefield, to stand on the battlefield. Senjo ni tatsu to wa. And to wa means to think that. So he's saying to think that such an inexperienced guy like you would appear on battle. And then the second half of the sentence, sochira wa soto no hein fusoku to mieru. So sochira, your side, you guys, sochira wa, so as for you guys, soto no. So soto here is being used to say considerably. So a considerable amount of hein fusoku. So hein is the number of troops that you have, the number of soldiers that you have. And then fusoku here means to be insufficient, to not be enough. So saying you don't have enough manpower. To mieru means that you appear to be the way. So he's saying for a guy like you to appear on the battlefield, it looks like you guys are really lacking men in your army. So Guts doesn't care what Bazuso says and he keeps on pushing in, and so Bazuso says, Kuso, iki ni nariotte. So kuso here means shit. We're learning so much swear words in this episode. So kuso is just damn or shit or crap, right? So any one of your words, pick which one you want. So kuso, and then iki ni nariotte. So iki ni naru. So this means to kind of become conceited, to become full of one's self, right? Iki in this way would be to be conceited, ni naru, to become. So to become full of oneself. And so he says you're becoming full of yourself. Now here he says nariotte. Now narioru is just the same as natteiru. Right, this is just a kind of old way of saying natteiru. So he's saying that you are getting full of yourself. Iki ni nariotte. So damn you getting full of yourself. Now we have a new character here, Judo, and here he says, he, sugoi yatsu ga iru mon da na. So hair is a really common expression in Japanese. If you see any Japanese TV, this word is one of the only words you will hear over and over. Hair. So this means, oh, really? It's kind of to show some level of surprise. It can be, just really just a word used to show that you're, paying attention. Like, oh, I see. Hair. A really super common word. So hair is like, oh, really? Sugoi yatsu. Now, sugoi means amazing, incredible, but it can also mean someone who's very skilled, and that's the definition that we're looking at here. Sugoi yatsu, he's not just saying he's a cool guy, he's actually saying he's a very skilled guy. So, sugoi yatsu ga iru mon da na. And mon is kind of here like explaining the situation. It is that there are also skilled guys here, huh? So, sugoi yatsu ga iru mon da na. Wow, so there are some pretty skilled guys here, huh?
The
next new character we have here is Korukas, or Caucus. And Caucus here he says, Na Griffiths, anta to dochi ga tsuyoi kana? So na is kind of the way of saying ne, a little bit more rough way. Griffiths is a really important character in this story that he's talking to, that we haven't met yet. And then he says, anta to dochi ga tsuyoi kana? So anta is anata, you, to with, dochi, which one, ga tsuyoi. Tsuyoi is the first new word, and this means strong. So he's saying, which one, I wonder, is stronger, you or him? So, anta to dochi ga tsuyoi kana? So, hey Griffith, I wonder who's stronger, you or him?
グイフスの方が強いに決まってるだろ。
And another new character, and here we have Kyaska. And that's a very important character here. And here Kyaska says, Kudaranai koto o kiku na. So, kudaranai means just useless, just a waste of time, just absolutely not worth doing. So, kudaranai koto, just a useless thing, o kiku na. And kiku means to ask. Na is don't do it. So, don't ask stupid questions, right? Don't ask such a nonsense thing. So she's completely just destroying whatever Cork has said and said, look, that is so stupid. Grifisu no hou ga tsuyoi ni kimatteru daro. So Grifisu no hou means that Griffith's side, Griffith is the one that is tsuyoi. So Grifisu no hou ga tsuyoi, he's the stronger one, ni kimatteru. Now, when something is ni kimatteru, this means that it is decided that's the case, if you were to look at it literally. But this actually means that something is obvious, right? It's already pre-decided. It's already a fact, right? Clearly, it's obvious Griffith is stronger. And that's how you can see the connection between kimaru, to decide, and something being obvious, right? So something ni kimatteru, it's obvious. So if we put it all together, kudaranai koto kiku na. Don't ask stupid questions. Griffith no hou ga tsuyoi ni kimatteru daro. It's obvious that Griffith is stronger, right?
くだらないことを聞くな。グイフスの方が強いに決まってるだろ。
待たれよ。気候の腕前、誠に感服の至りこのバズーソー。
And so Guts is kicking Bazuso's ass, and just as he's kind of looking at finishing him off, here Bazuso says, Matare yo! Kikou no udemae, makoto ni kanpuku no itari, kono Bazuso! So, matare, this is saying, you know, mate kudasai, but it's a very, very strong way of doing it. Matare is like an ordering way of saying, just wait! And then, kikou no udemae. Now, kikou here is quite a it's a more of a fantasy, old way of referring to oneself. We can see here in the definition it says, you, primarily when used by males when addressing their male equal or inferior, but in reality this is only used in kind of, you know, really olden days settings, right? In the kind of here, the knights and the kings and the queens, that type of language, referring to you. Ki is often used when referring to you, and then ko is often used when referring to some sort of lord. Like, so here it's kind of a way of, you know, referring to you in a little bit more respectful way, right? The you lord. So a historical way of saying you, and then udemae. Now, if you've seen the Final Fantasy remake videos, you know that this means one's skill. Ude is your arm, mae is before. It doesn't really make sense when you look at it literally, but it just means your skill, right? Your arms, your abilities. So, your abilities, kikou no udemae, makoto ni kanpuku no itari. Now, makoto ni means to truly or sincerely. So if you were to say sincerely thank you, it would be makoto ni arigatou gozaimashita, right? But here it's makoto ni kanpuku no itari. So it is truly kanpuku. Kanpuku is admiration or being impressed by something, and then itari is the utmost limits, the highest, the pinnacle. So he's saying, I have truly the pinnacle of admiration for your ability, right? So, kikou no udemae, makoto ni kanpuku no itari, kono Bazuso, and he says, me Bazuso, and then he gets cut off. So here Bazuso is saying, wait, I admire your skills to the utmost, I Bazuso!
待たれよ。気候の腕前、誠に感服の至りこのバズーソー。 給料2ヶ月分と今回の報奨金だ。
Okay, and so now the battle is finished and Guts is now collecting his payment. And so here the captain says, 給料2ヶ月分と今回の報奨金だ. So, kyuryo here is the word for a salary. So if you work a job, really any kind of job, very, very common word, kyuryo is your salary, your payment, how much money you make. Very important word. Then we have nikagetsu bun. So nikagetsu is 2 months, and then bun is the amount. Now we've seen this word quite a lot in lots of the videos on the channel, and this is kind of the amount of something, for the part of something. Here it's for the amount of 2 months. So 2 months worth of salary, right? So kyuryo nikagetsu bun to. So 2 months worth of your salary and konkai no, this times hoshoukin. So konkai is for right now, right? This time, kon, ima, now, kai for kind of the frequency of something, the amount of the times of something. So this time, konkai no hoshoukin. And hoshoukin is your reward or your bonus. So it's the bounty for killing Bazuso. That's what he's referring to here. So konkai no hoshoukin da. So here is 2 months worth of your salary and reward for killing Bazuso.
給料2ヶ月分と今回の報奨金だ。なあ、考え直す気はないのか?
Na, 考え直す気はないのか? So na is again that ne, 考え直す. This is a new word. Now, 考える means to think. Naosu means to repair or to redo. So to redo your thinking, right? To rethink something. So 考え直す Ki means the intention, kind of the feeling of doing something, right? So the intention to change your mind, wa nai no ka? Isn't it that you have? So don't you have the intention to change your mind? Won't you change your mind? Right? That kind of thing.
なあ、考え直す気はないのか? 給料は3倍.
And then he says, kyuryo wa 3倍. So kyuryo, the salary, 3倍 is 3 times. He's saying that he will pay him 3 times your salary. So, that's quite a lot of money. Now, bai here actually just means times. So 3 times. If you just use it by itself, it means double. I know that's a little bit confusing, but if you just use bai, it means double. But when you add another number to it, it means that many times. So 3 bai, 4 bai, 5 bai, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, right? So here it's 3 times your salary. I'll triple your salary.
給料は3倍. 私分に取り立ててもいいと言ってるんだぞ.
私分に取り立ててもいいと言ってるんだぞ. Now, shibun here, it says the status of a samurai. Now, this isn't really a correct translation. He's not a samurai, but it's the status of a warrior. Right, so the shi can also be just a warrior. It doesn't have to be a samurai. And so this is the status of being a warrior, kind of like being knighted, but in a kind of more lower sense scale. Kind of like being a salary worker, right? He's saying you will be an appointed, soldier for me. So shibun ni toritatete mo ii. So toritateru. This is to appoint someone something, to promote someone. I will promote you to, the warrior status for me, right? So, shibu ni toritatete mo ii means it would be okay even if I appointed you to itterun da zo. That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying that I'd be okay with appointing you to kind of the status of, a soldier or some sort of, knightly type figure. So I'm telling you that I'll even appoint you status as an officer.
私分に取り立ててもいいと言ってるんだぞ。あちらさんは。
Achira-san wa. So Achira over there, san is way of referring to someone like in an honorific way, like Mr. So, you over there, Achira-san wa, as for you over there. And he says this because he doesn't know his name. So he's just you over there, right? Achira-san.
あちらさんは俺たち傭兵にしてみりゃ。
And so next we have oretachi yohei ni shite miria. Now, if we have a look first, oretachi is just us, ore for me, tachi for us. Yohei are mercenaries, so us mercenaries. But then we have this interesting piece of grammar, ni shite miria. Now, this is actually a contraction of ni shite mireba, and this is actually an N1 piece of grammar, which is actually a more complicated way of saying ni shite wa. So, for us mercenaries, oretachi yohei ni shite mireba.
俺たち傭兵にしてみりゃ。夢みてえな話じゃねえか。
夢みてえな話じゃねえか. So yume, a dream. Mite is mitai, so like a dream. Na hanashi, so it's a talk of being dreamlike. Jane, janaika. So isn't this, the story of your dreams? Isn't this like a dream, right? So it's like a, really ideal sounding story, right? It's like a dream come true, right?
夢みてえな話じゃねえか。
夢食えんのかそいつは。
Yume? Kuen no ka soitsu wa. I love this line. This is great. So yume is a dream, right? And then kueru is to eat. Kuen is just kueru, to be able to eat. No ka is it the case? Soitsu wa, referring to the dream. So he's saying a dream. Am I able to eat with that? Now, we've already learnt that it doesn't have to be eat, it can also be to make a living, but I like how he's actually eating a coin at this exact time saying this. It really kind of connects the two uses together, right? Can I survive off of that, off of dreams? Can I make a living? Can I survive? Can I eat? So I've translated it as a dream. What's that? Can you eat it? Kind of saying like, all he cares about is surviving. He doesn't give a crap about dreams, he just wants to survive.
夢食えんのかそいつは。
待て
待て Wait!
待て地位も金も保証すると言ってるんだぞ
地位も金も報酬すると言ってるんだぞ So 地位 Chi, land, e, position. So social position, social status, right? I'll give you a status. So chi mo, position as well as, kane mo, as well as money, hoshou suru. And so hoshou suru is to just guarantee that something is okay, right? Kind of like a warranty or an assurance. So he's saying that, look, I'm guaranteeing you position and money. 地位も金も保証すると言ってるんだぞ. That's what I'm saying. So I'm offering you a guaranteed position and money.
地位も金も保証すると言ってるんだぞ何の不満があるんだ
何の不満があるんだ So 何の what kind of 不満 here is a kind of dissatisfaction, to not be happy with something. So what aren't you pleased with? How is this not enough? 何の不満があるんだ So what do you have wrong with that?
何の不満があるんだ
嫌いなんだよ窮屈なのは。
嫌いなんだよ窮屈なのは Now, kirai means to dislike something. So he says, I dislike it. Kirai nandayo. I don't like it. Kyukutsu nano wa. And then now he's explaining what it is that he doesn't like. Kyukutsu nakoto. Things that are constrained, uncomfortable, tied. So he's saying he doesn't like being tied down. That's what he says he doesn't like. Kirai nandayo. Kyukutsu nano wa. So he's a free bird. He just wants to go off and roam as a vagabond, as a vagrant. He doesn't want to be tied down to any kind of group. So I hate it being constrained.
嫌いなんだよ窮屈なのは。
Tsugi. So tsugi just means next. And so Guts is leaving the battlefield and he's walking along this very beautiful field and he hears the sound of horses approaching him and he says, Tozoku ka. So, is what? And then Tozoku is a bandit. So, bandits?
盗賊か。
よし行け
And so the battle begins with Guts and these bandits, and we can see one of the bandits is Korukasu, a guy that we saw from the earlier battle, and he says, Yosh, ike. So Yosh is like, alright, and then ike is go, the imperative form. So, alright, go.
よし行け
物取りか。いつものようにやるだけだ。
And Guts realizes who they are, and he says, Monotori ka, itsumo no you ni yaru dake da. So monotori, mono are things, toru is to take, so monotori is someone who takes things. A thief or a robber. So he says, thieves, huh? Itsumo no yoni, just like always, yaru dake da. I just gotta kill. Now, the interesting thing here about yaru is this yaru is being used with the same kanji for to kill, korosu. And so this is where you can see the connection of actually, killing someone to kind of, to do someone in. And so we can see here is where it's colloquially used to say to kill someone. So all I have to do is just kill him like always. Itsumo no yoni yaru dake da.
Monotori ka. Itsumo no yoni yaru dake da.
俺がバズースをぶっ倒して名を上げるつもりだったんだ。横取りしやがって。
So Caucus isn't very happy and he says, "Ore ga bazuso buttaoshite." So ore ga, I'm the one that, bazuso or doing something to bazuso, buttaosu. Now buttaosu means to just flat out knock out someone, to defeat someone. When you see this but in front of something, it often means to just really do something. Taosu is to defeat. So he says, like, to completely defeat Bazuso, I am the one. Na o ageru tsumori dattanda. Na o ageru, to raise your name, to become famous. Tsumori dattanda. Tsumori means to intend something. When you have tsumori after a verb, it shows that you intend to do that action. So I intended, tsumori datta, that I was going to raise my name by defeating Bazuso. So, 俺がバズーソをぶっ倒して名を上げるつもりだったんだ。横取りしやがって。And so yokodori here is actually yoko meaning the side of something, toru again to take. So it's to take something from the side. So it's to kind of to snatch something, to steal something. He's saying that I was the one that was going to do it and you snatched it away from me. Yokodori shi yagatte. So if we put it all together, I was going to make a name for myself by defeating Bazuso. You went and stole it from me.
俺がバズースをぶっ倒して名を上げるつもりだったんだ。横取りしやがって。
そうか。こいつら傭兵団だな。
そうか。こいつら傭兵団だな。So, soka is like, oh, is that so? So he's coming to some realization. He's like, I see. Soka. Koitsura, these guys, yoheidan. They are a group of mercenaries.
そうか。こいつら傭兵団だな。
こいつマジで強え。
And so very quickly, Guts overwhelms Caucus, and so Caucus says, Koitsu, majide tsue. So Koitsu is this guy, and then majide means seriously. So this guy seriously, tsue. Now, tsue is just slang for tsuyoi. Often you see that e sound turn into an e. So instead of tsuyoi, it's tsue. So here he's just saying, whoa, this guy's seriously strong. Koitsu, majide tsue.
こいつマジで強え。
言わんこっちゃない。だからあんたじゃやれないって。
And we can see Kasuga as well in this battle, and here she says, Iwan kochanai, dakara anta ja yarenai te. So, Iwan kochanai, this is an expression to say, I told you so, right? So, it's not a thing that I didn't tell you, right? So, I told you so. Iwan kochanai, dakara, that's why, anta ja, if it's you, yarenai te, you are not able to defeat him. So I told you so. That's why I said you couldn't kill him.
言わんこっちゃない。だからあんたじゃやれないって。
キャスカ、お前言ってやれ。
Ooh, okay, and now we also see that Griffith is also here. So Griffith, he says, Kasuga, omae itte yare. So Kasuga is Kasuga, and then omae, you itte yare. You go and do it. So he's saying, you go and finish him off or beat him. You go, Kasuga.
キャスカ、お前言ってやれ。
なんでさ、コルカスが勝手に。わかったよ。
Kasuga's not happy about it, and she says, Nande sa, korukasu ga katte ni wakatta yo. So, nande sa, nande is why, right? If you ask a question, why? You just say, Nande, nande. So, nande sa. Now, sa is often used at the end of words as a kind of, it's a little bit more of a youthful way of getting someone's attention. It's a little bit more of a youthful way of, hey, why? Why, why? So, nande sa, why, Korukasu ga katte ni. So, Caucus just went on his own accord and did something. So kateni is to do something selfishly without thinking. He did it all on his own. And then she gives in and she says, wakatta yo. So she doesn't want to argue with Griffith. She says, I understand. Wakaru is to understand something. So wakatta means, okay, I got it, I understand. So why? Corcus went all on his own? Alright, I understand.
なんでさ、コルカスが勝手に。わかったよ。
Wah, yabe! So wah is a kind of way of, being whoa. And then yabe is a really useful piece of slang here. Yabai and yabe, again, we see the E turning into an S sound. Now, yabe is just saying kind of like this is very dangerous. This is risky. Kind of like how we say, oh crap, oops, oh no, this isn't good. Right, that kind of thing. That's how you can use yabai. Yabai has lots of different uses, but this is one of the uses here to say, oh shit, yabe.
Yabe!
下がってな。
And so Kasuga says, sagatte na. So sagaru is to actually to fall back. So sagaru can be to go down, right? But here we see in the third definition, it means to move back, to withdraw. So she's saying, look, you get back, I'll handle it. Sagatte na.
下がってな。
来たのかすまねえ。
Kitanoka, sumane. So kuru to come, kitanoka, you came, sumane. Now sumane is again sumanai, just like sumimasen. This is a way of saying, look, I'm sorry. It's a way of apologizing for something. So sumanai, I'm sorry. Sumane, an even more casual way of saying it. So you came, I'm sorry.
来たのかすまねえ。
仕方ないだろう。グリフィスの命令だよ。
Shikatanai daro, Griffiths no meire dayo. So shikatanai is a really common expression in Japanese. It's one of the most fundamental expressions in the Japanese language and Japanese culture. Now here it's also known as shoganai, shikatanai, same thing. So shikatanai means that there is no other way, right? And often you see people not like that translation, but it is actually a pretty good translation to say, look, there is no other choice. It's to show that this situation is unavoidable, right? Shikatanai. So this is unavoidable. So shikatanai daro, Griffiths no meire da. And that's why it's unavoidable, because it's Griffith's meire. It's Griffith's order. So he ordered her to do it. That's why it's shikatanai. So I don't have a choice. It's Griffith's orders.
仕方ないだろう。グリフィスの命令だよ。
Now Guts realizes that this is a woman, and so he says, Onna? Yoheidan ni onna ga? Now this sentence is kind of being cut off. First, onna, this just means a woman or a female, as we can see here, the female sex, so we see this in the definition. So he's saying, look, it's a woman. Yoheidan is the mercenary group, ni in the mercenary group, onna ga, and this is where it's being cut off. Maybe he's going to say onna ga iru, to think that there's a woman in the group or there's a woman in the group, but he's not finished that sentence. He just said, huh? A woman? A woman in the mercenary group? And so after getting attacked quite a lot by Guts, here Kasuga says, Tsuyoi, nante uchikomi da. So tsuyoi is strong. Nante is like what kind of. Now, nante actually comes from nantoiyu. This is just a contraction version of that. So what kind of, like wow, what kind of, how, what? Uchikomi da. Now, uchikomu here is actually the barrage of attacks that Guts is doing to attack into Kasuga. So uchikomu. Now you can see the definition, it says to fire into, to launch, to lob. I see it as kind of the barrage of swings, right? The barrage of blows that he is attacking her with. And that's this uchikomi. So I've translated it as, whoa, so strong, what powerful blows. So the what powerful blows, the what part is the nante, and then the powerful blows is the uchikomi.
強い。なんて打ち込みだ。
おい、あのキャスカが追い込まれてるぞ。
Oi, ano Kasuga ga oikomareteru zo. So oi is like, oh, hey, ano Kasuga, that Kasuga, so referring to, a known person. Hey, that Kasuga, she oikomareteru. So oikomu here is to kind of to herd, to drive in, to kind of be pushed back. So here he's saying Kasuga's being pushed back, like that Kasuga. Ano Kasuga ga oikomareteru zo. Hey, that Kasuga's being driven back.
Oi! Ano Kasuga ga oikomareteru zo!
And so Griffith appears on the battlefield and Kasuga says to him, Griffiths, kiotsukete, koitsu tegowai yo. So, kiotsukete, again, a really useful expression just to say be careful. I use this almost every day. Just kiotsukete, you know, when you want to say to someone, hey, be careful, hey, kiotsukete. So she's saying, be careful, Griffith. Koitsu, this guy, tegowai yo. And then tegowai here, we can see that it says difficult, tough, and formidable. So the difference between tegowai and just tsioi is tegowai, if you look at the Japanese definition, actually says that it's an opponent who is so strong that he seems to be unbeatable. And so that's here where this tegowai is. It's a formidable, you know, a very difficult opponent, someone that isn't easily defeated. That's what this tegowai is. So here she says, hey, Griffith, be careful. This guy, he's pretty tough to handle. And so arriving at the battlefield, Griffith says to Guts, Ken o hite kurenai ka? So Ken here is the sword. An interesting thing to note is that this kanji actually has two different ways of reading it. It can be ken for a sword, like how we see here with a large double-edged sword, but it can also be read as tsurugi, another way of reading this kanji. Here it's being read as ken. I feel like tsurugi is a little bit more like a blade, whereas ken is more like a sword. What Guts is using doesn't really feel like a blade, and that's why you wouldn't use tsurugi. It's more of a sword, right? And that's why it's ken. And so, ken o hite kurenai ka? Now, hiku means to actually to pull something. So he's not actually saying, won't you pull out your sword? He's actually saying, won't you put away your sword? And we can see that here in the third definition, where to draw back one's hand, to draw in, to pull in. So instead of actually hiku, to pull out, this is actually saying, won't you put away your sword? Won't you sheath your sword? Won't you draw back your blade? So, won't you sheath your sword? And Guts is no match for Griffith, and here, with a very quick whooshing, a very, very, very quick attack, Guts is defeated. And Guts says, Hayai. And this is exactly that. Hayai means fast. So he's saying Griffith is very, very fast. Hayai.
Hayai.
And again, we see more swear words. Kuso. Damn it.
Kuri. With.
So now Guts is having some sort of nightmare, and here he says, Uso da, doushite, doushite. So uso is a lie, and then doushite is a way of asking, like, you know, why? So why is something happening? You know, for what reason, right? You're kind of asking about the purpose of something. So something's happening and Guts doesn't know why it's happening. So uso da, no way. Doushite, doushite. How come? How come?
Uso da, doushite, doushite.
Yamete. Stop. Yamete. Gambino. So Gambino. So he's having a kind of nightmare about something to do with Gambino, some sort of traumatic child experience in his past. And you can tell that by his voice being much more younger in this scene. But as he wakes up from his nightmare, he looks across and he sees that Kasuga is lying beside him. And so he says, Koko wa doko da? Naze omae ga iru? So koko wa, as for here, doko da, where are we? Naze, the next new word that we have here, this means why. So why is it that omae ga iru? Why are you here? Naze omae ga iru?
Koko wa doko da? Naze omae ga iru?
お前なんかあのままグリフィスに殺されちまえばよかったんだ。
So Kasuga wakes up Guts with a big punch in the gut, right where his injury is, and she says, お前なんかあのままグリフィスに殺されちまえばよかったんだ. So first we have お前なんか. So お前, you, nanka, such a thing like you, such a person like you. So such a thing like you, omae nanka. Ano mama means just like that. Now mama we've already kind of seen in a different expression. This just by itself just means as it is, right? So left in that condition or that state. What conditional state? Ano conditional state. That condition. So referring to the state of being stabbed and dying. Right? So, ano mama, just like that, Griffiths ni by Griffith, korosare chimaeba yokattanda. It would have been better if you were killed. So, it would have been better if you were just left alone to die and killed by Griffith.
お前なんかあのままグリフィスに殺されちまえばよかったんだ。こっちは馬の霊だ。
Guts tries to respond and says, Kono, but he gets punched again. Kochi wa uma no rei da. So here she says, this is for my horse. So uma is a horse. And in the anime and the movies, he actually killed her horse. So we didn't see that in the game, but that's what happened in the actual story. And so she's saying, this is for my horse. This is for killing my horse. So kochi wa, this is for uma no rei. Now, re actually means thanks. And that's a little bit weird to say this is thanks for my horse, but it's kind of like a almost sarcastic way of talking, really. Like, this is thanks for my horse, right? This is payback for my horse. This is reward for my horse, right? How dare you do this? This is your payback, right? Payback in a negative sense, right?
こっちは馬の霊だ。
And Guts doesn't like that one bit, and he says, Ano ama. So ano, that. Ama here is another piece of interesting slang. This is probably the most graphic, heavy language that we've seen in the whole vocab series so far. Ama is a way of calling someone a bitch. So he's saying, you damn bitch, ano ama. Really interesting thing to have a look at with the three definitions. Look at this variety. We have a colloquial way of referring to a nun, no, a bitch, a derogatory way, or used for Amazon, like the online retailer Amazon. So ama, right? Amazon. So very, very interesting. But here it's being used to refer to her as a bitch. Ano ama.
Ano ama. よし、ここ。
キャスカに感謝するんだな。
So Guts walks out and he sees this, mercenary group, and it's quite beautiful and a cute little cat. And then we actually see Judo here say to Guts, Kasuka ni kansha surun da na. So Kasuka ni to Kasuka, kansha surun da na. Kansha is to be thankful for something, to have gratitude towards something, and towards Kasuka ni kansha surun da na. So we know that surunda is you should be. You should be thankful to Kasuka.
キャスカに感謝するんだな。血流しすぎて冷え切ったあんたの体を2日2晩添い寝して温めたんだ。
And then Judo explains why, and he says, 血流しすぎて冷え切ったあんたの体を2日2晩添い寝して温めたんだ。So starting off with the first part of this sentence, he says, 血流しすぎて. So chi is your blood, literally the blood inside your body. This is the kanji for that. This is the word for your blood, chi. So chi nagashi sugite. Nagasu means to flow, but also to let out something, right? So you were bleeding, right? Chi nagasu, to bleed blood, right? So chi nagashi sugite, so you were bleeding too much. Hie kita anta no karada. So hie kiru means to completely almost get like stone cold, very, very cold. So anta no karada here is the word for your body, like your physical body. So your actual physical body had become completely cold, saying that Guts was on the brink of death, right? So you bled too much and your body had become cold. Chi nagashi sugite hie kita anta no karada o. So doing something to your body that was chilled. And then we have futsuka niban. So futsuka is the word for 2 days. You would have learnt this if you've seen the kanji video that we just released, I think, with futsuka. And then we have niban. This is 2 nights. So 2 days and 2 nights. Futsuka niban. Soi ne. So soi ne is to sleep together. And what this actually means isn't in a sexual way. It just means to actually literally sleep together, right? So you're here, the other person's there. That is sleeping together. Soi here is often used when meaning alongside something, right? Like kawazoi is alongside the river. So soi ne is to sleep alongside each other, sleeping together. So soi ne shite, and then we have atatame tanda. So atatameru is to heat something up, to warm something up. So really it's, this warming, right? You warm up your hands, you warm up something. So Kasuka slept with him, slept together for 2 days and 2 nights to warm his chilled body. You were bleeding too much and your body had become cold. She slept by your side for 2 days and 2 nights and warmed you up.
血流しすぎて冷え切ったあんたの体を2日2晩添い寝して温めたんだ。
何？
グリフィスの命令さ。
Nani? What? Griffiths no meire sa. So Griffiths no meire we know is Griffith's order, and then sa again we see this kind of way of saying like, hey, So it's kind of like, hey, it was Griffith's orders.
グリフィスの命令さ。男を温めるのは女の役目だってね。
And then Judo explains, 男を温めるのは女の役目だってな. So otoko is the opposite of onna, right? We've learnt onna for woman or female, and now we see otoko for man or male. So otoko o, doing something to a man, atatameru, to warm up a man, no wa, so the thing of warming a man, onna no yakume da. So onna, woman, yakume is a role or a duty. So it is the duty of women to warm a man. Tena. So he's quoting what someone said, and he's quoting what Griffith said. So he's saying right here, Griffith said that it is the duty of a woman to warm a man. So clearly Griffith does not have the most socially correct views on equality of sexes.
男を温めるのは女の役目だってね。
ジド、てめえ!
And then Judo threw that little sharp thing and almost hit this guy, and he killed the wasp. And the guy in the background's like, hey, Judo, what the hell? And so he says, Judo, teme, Judo is his name. Teme is just a kind of derogatory way of referring to someone. So here you could translate it as like, hey, you, Judo, or hey, Judo, you bastard, or hey, what the hell, Judo? That kind of thing.
Judo, teme!
Wari. So my bad. Warui just means bad. So wari is like warui. Just a little bit more of a slang way of saying it. Wari instead of warui. And just, yeah, it's my bad. Sorry. And we can hear the voice of Griffith and he says, Sukkari me ga sameta you da na. So sukkari means just being like completely something. So entirely me ga sameta. Me is your eyes, sameru is to awaken, so to open your eyes. You have completely woken up. Sukkari me ga sameta you da na. Yoda means it appears that. So he sees Guts walking around, he's like, oh, it looks like you've completely woken up.
すっかり目が覚めたようだな。俺はグリフィス。
俺はグリフィス。I am Griffith.
俺はグリフィス。お前、名は？
お前、名は? So here, お前, you, na is the name, and wa as for. So as for your name, how about you? What's your name?
お前、名は？
ガッツ。
Guts. Guts.
ガッツ。
すごい剣だな。
Sugoi ken da na. So sugoi, again, we see is an amazing thing. This time it's just amazing. Sugoi ken, an amazing sword. Da na, isn't it? So he's saying, look, this is quite an amazing sword. Sugoi ken da na.
すごい剣だな。俺にはとても触れないよ。
俺にはとっても触れないよ. So 俺には means as for me, so regarding myself. Totemo means like very much. Furenai means that you cannot swing. So he's saying that I very much could not wield this. I could not at all wield this sword. Totemo furenai.
俺にはとても触れないよ。来てくれないか、一緒に。
来てくれないか、一緒に。So we don't have any new language here. Just 来てくれない, couldn't you come with me? And then 一緒に is together. So won't you come with me together?
来てくれないか、一緒に。
妙な雰囲気だな。一体ここは？
妙な雰囲気だな。一体ここは? So, myona is a kind of strange. We've seen this previously in a previous episode. But this next word, funiki. So, funiki means the atmosphere, the feeling of something, the mood of something. Be careful. Often people mistake the pronunciation of this word. It is funiki, not fuinki. No. It's funiki. Funiki. And this is the ambience, the feeling of something. So he's saying this place has a really strange vibes, really strange atmosphere. Myona fuinki da na. Itai koko wa. So itai means what in the world, right? What in the hell? And then koko here. So as for here, what the hell is this place?
妙な雰囲気だな。一体ここは？
高野段。
Takanodan. So here we have the Japanese word for the band of the hawk. So taka here is the one new word that we have here, and this is the word for a hawk. And it's quite a nice looking kanji, isn't it, we have right here. So this is a very important word right here for this series, the hawk. And also, interestingly enough, it can also mean a falcon, which is really interesting if you know a lot about the story, because yes, hawk, falcon, they are different. So it's interesting how you can actually use taka for both. Now, dan is the group. So this is the group of, the hawks, or the band of the hawk.
高野段。知っているのか？
And Griffith looks over his shoulder and he says, 知っているのか? So, do you know of us, right? Shiru is to know, 知っている to be knowing. So, are you aware of who we are? Do you know, the band of the hawk?
知っているのか？
ああ。戦場で最も敵に回したくない傭兵団の一つだ。
And Guts replies with, 戦場で最も敵に回したくない傭兵団の一つだ。So, is like yeah, senjo is the battlefield, de at the battlefield. So, at the battlefield, motomo is the most, right? The very, very most. So, motomo teki ni mawashitakunai. Teki is an enemy. Mawasu is actually to kind of make an enemy of. So, teki ni mawasu here is a set phrase to antagonize someone, to make an enemy of someone. So yes, in the battle, the most one that I don't want to make an enemy of, Yoheidan no hitotsu da, one of the mercenary groups. So one of the mercenary groups that I most don't want to kind of make an enemy of in the battlefield.
戦場で最も敵に回したくない傭兵団の一つだ。前の戦じゃ随分手こずらされたが。
And so next, Guts is talking about the previous battle, and here he says, so if we have a look at the first part, Mae no ikusa ja. So this is the same as Mae no ikusa dewa. So as for at the previous battle, zuibun here means considerably, and then we have this new word which is tekozuru. So tekozuru here is actually to have a hard time with something, to have trouble with something, right? So he's saying that he had a hard time with you guys in the last battle. And he's looking around and he's going, oh, okay, so you guys, this is the guys that I had such a hard time with. So he says, Sokka, koitsura ga. I see. So these guys are.
そう俺たちが鷹の段さ
そう俺たちが鷹の段さ So, that's right. Oretachi, we are the ones that are the band of the hawk. Taka no Dan.
そう俺たちが鷹の段さいい眺めだな
So we reach the top of this hill, and here Griffith says, "I nagame da na." So I means good, and then nagame here is the view, right? The outlook. So as you can see, it's a very, very beautiful setting, very, very beautiful outlook of kind of almost English countryside type feeling. Very, very beautiful nagame, a very, very beautiful view.
いい眺めだな
なぜだなぜ俺の急所を外した
なぜだなぜ俺の急所を外した So なぜだ why is it なぜ again why 俺の急所を外した So 急所 here are your vital points, right? Q is like sudden, shore is the points, but here it's kind of the really important parts, right? The most important parts of your body, things like your heart and your lungs and your vitals, right? This is kyusho. And then we have hazushita. So hazusu is to actually miss. So to not hit would be hazushita. And so here we can see that we have both 4 could be to dodge, to evade, or to avoid something, or 5 to miss a target, right? To miss a punch. And so here hazusu is really useful in that way. Now, hazusu can also be used to actually say that like you missed something. So you might often see this, if you attack someone and then you see hazushita, like your attack missed. Here referring to missing his vital points. So why? Why did you miss my vital points?
なぜ俺の急所を外した
お前が欲しいと思ったからさガッツ
お前が欲しいと思ったからさガッツ So お前 you お前が欲しい means I want you. 欲しい here is a new word meaning that you want something. So usually you see it with something が欲しい is something is what you want. So he wants you. お前が欲しいと思ったから So 思った 思う here is to think something から is because. So because I thought I want you. Guts. Guts.
お前が欲しいと思ったからさガッツ
おめえあっちの趣味でもあんのか
And we get a very kind of cheeky, cute response from Guts, and he says, おめえ achi no shumi demo anno ka? So, ome is omae, and then achi is that other side. Do you remember where I said that before, the other side? Well, here, now he's talking about the other side, being, what do you call it, batting for the other team, or whatever it is. So, achi no shumi means that you have a preference for the other side, as in, you like men. So, あちの趣味でもあんのか? でもあるのか? So, is it that you like guys? Right, that's kind of like what he's saying. Like, you have an interest in the other side, huh? And so that's why you can see that face where he's like, that very judgmental face. What are you doing? Very judgmental of Griffith. So, you have a liking for the other side or something, huh?
おめえあっちの趣味でもあんのか
バズーサとの一騎打ち見せてもらった
And so Griffith ignores that with a cute little smile and he says, Bazuso to no iki-uchi misete moratta. So the only new word that we have here is iki-uchi. So iki here is the person on horseback and then uchi is to attack. So what this actually is referring to is to a one-on-one fight, right? A kind of a one-on-one knight, right? One knight fight, right? So a one-on-one combat. So here, bazuso to no ikiuchi. So here is the one-on-one fight with bazuso, misete moratta. And miseru means to show, moratta means to receive. So he received being shown your fight with bazuso. In other words, I saw your fight with bazuso.
バズーサとの一騎打ち見せてもらった見事だったよ
Migoto datayo. So migoto here is splendid. And we actually saw this previously in this episode, but we didn't see with that definition. We saw migoto meaning to do something completely. Here, it means splendid or wonderful. So it was wonderful. It was magnificent. Your battle was. Migoto datayo.
見事だったよだが危なかったな
Daga abunakatta na. So daga, however, and then abunai here is a new word, and this means for something to be dangerous. Now, we've actually already seen a similar word with yabe or yabai, and that's more of a slang way of saying dangerous. This here is the word for danger. So if you want to say something is dangerous, abunai is what it is. If you look at a bridge and you're like, oh, it's a little bit dangerous, you would use abunai in that situation. So he's saying, however, it was pretty dangerous what you did. Daga abunakatta na.
だが危なかったなお前の戦いぶりはまるで自分の命を試しているように見える
お前の戦いぶりはまるで自分の命を試しているように見える So if we go and look at the first part of this sentence お前の戦いぶり So お前 is you, 戦い is fight, but 戦いぶり here is the way that you fight. So looking at your fighting style, looking at the way that you fight, wa, as for maru there means it's just like. Now, maru is actually for a circle, so it's like it's just like something, it's perfectly like something, right? Maru there, it's just like jibun no inochi, one's own life, tameshiteiru. So tamesu here is to try something, to test something out. So jibun no inochi o tameshiteiru means that you are testing out your own life. Yo ni mieru is that it appears that certain way. It can look in that way. So it looks like you're trying to test your own life. So the way that you fight, it's as if it looks like you're trying to test your own life.
お前の戦いぶりはまるで自分の命を試しているように見える俺にはわざわざ自分の身を死の危険にさらして
And he continues on with 俺には So as for when it comes to me わざわざ自分の身を死の危険にさらして So first we have 俺には as for me わざわざ means to expressly, to purposely do a certain action. And then 自分の身 jibun is oneself, me is your own kind of body. So 自分の身 your own body, or, and then we have 死の危険にさらす So 死 is the word for death. So here right now we can see death, 死. Now, 死の危険 is the danger of death. Right? And kiken here is the noun, right? So if you were to say something is dangerous, that is abunai, but if something has danger, that would be kiken. So shi no kiken is the danger of death ni sarasu. So kiken ni sarasu just means to expose oneself to danger, right? Sarasu is to kind of expose something, right? So here we are exposing your own body, right? Jibun no mi o shi no kiken ni sarasu, to expose yourself to the danger of death. So he says the way I see it, to purposely put your own life on the line and risk the danger of death.
俺には わざわざ自分の身を死の危険にさらして逆にそこから命を拾おうとあがいている。
逆にそこから命を拾おうとあがいている。So starting off with a new word here, we have gyakuni. Now, gyaku means the opposite of something, right? So here, gyakuni is on the contrary or conversely. So in the opposite, そこから, so from there, 命を拾おうと. So inochi is one's life, hiro is to pick up, but here it's hirou. This is actually to try and pick up, right? To show intention of trying to pick something up. To, and then agaiteiru. Now, agaku here is to struggle. And this is really interesting. We're actually learning a lot of real key words for the Berserk series already just in this episode. So, agaku, to struggle. Literally here is you're trying to escape a dangerous situation and you're, flailing about, struggling about in order to make do. So he's saying, it looks like you're just trying to test your life. And in fact, conversely, it's like you want to try and pick up your life from a dangerous situation and struggle to live. That's what you want to do.
逆にそこから命を拾おうとあがいている。そんな風に感じたよ。
そんな風に感じたよ。So そんな風に is in that way. そんな Fu is the kind of air or something, the kind of way of something. So そんな風に in that way 感じた is how I felt. Now, kanjiru can be to sense, to feel, to experience something, right? It can be feeling, but it can also be feeling, right? It can be lots of different types of feeling, both physically as well as more mentally or inside your body. So here, he felt that way. He felt like Guts is just, struggling, but he's always doing it on purpose. He purposely puts his life at risk so that he can struggle to make sure that he's alive, right? It's like he's doing it on purpose.
そんな風に感じたよ。俺はお前が気に入った。
俺はお前が気に入った。So, the only new word we have here is kiniiru. And this is a really important word because it means to take an interest in something. He says that he's taken a liking to Guts. お前が気に入った。Ki is your kind of feeling, your disposition. Ita or iru here is to actually kind of put in. So it's like he's put interest into something. Kiniita. I have become interested in you, right? So I've taken a liking to you.
俺はお前が気に入った。お前が欲しいんだ。ガッツ。
お前が欲しいんだ。Guts. So お前 you が欲しい I want んだ it is that Guts. I want you Guts.
お前が欲しいんだ。ガッツ。
嫌だと言ったら。
And so Guts replies with 嫌だと言ったら. So 嫌だ is like it's no good. I don't want it. It's disagreeable. It's kind of I don't want it. 嫌だ, right? This is a very common way of kind of just saying no to something. 嫌だ, 嫌だ. But it's to show that you feel, that something is disagreeable. You don't want it to be a certain way. So 嫌だ. So here Guts is saying, what if I say that I don't want that? 嫌だと言ったら what if I say no?
嫌だと言ったら。
嫌か？
嫌か? Say no or no. So, he's showing surprise at it being disagreeable, something he doesn't want. 嫌か?
嫌か？
お断りだ。
So, is yeah, and then here we have o kotowari. So, o is just a more polite way of talking. Kotowaru is to just refuse something, right? So he's saying that he refuses. Why he's speaking politely, I'm not entirely sure. Perhaps he's doing it as a kind of, a funny way of where he's being polite in a rude situation. We often do that, right? If you want to be rude to someone, sometimes it's actually a good idea to be polite, and that's even more, distant from something. Perhaps that's what he's trying to do here, and that's why he says, o kotowari, I refuse.
お断りだ。知ったふうなこと抜かしやがって。
And we get some nice slang here again. So here he says, 知ったふうなこと抜かしやがって. So 知ったふうなこと. So 知る is to know. 知ったふうなこと is, we know fu is the way of something, the air of something. So the air of knowing something, 抜かしやがって. So 抜かす here is to actually leave something out. But it actually kind of means in a more vulgar way to say something. right? It's kind of like saying to talk shit, right? In that way, if you think about that, right? Where you're saying something that is, you're just letting it out, right? You're saying crap. So here he says, nukashi yagate. Yagaru is to show disdain towards someone's actions. So he's like, how dare you, talk crap like you know everything. So to talk shit like you know everything. And so he's getting quite upset and he says, Hito no karada ni o ana aketoite. So hito no karada we know is a person's body, ni, so in or to the person's body, o ana. O is big, ana is a hole, so a big hole. So big hole, aketoite, so to open up a big hole in someone's body. Nare nare shi. So this is when someone is over familiar, right? And often where you have in Japanese where you need to use honorifics and things like that to kind of speak to someone. And then if you drop those honorifics, you are being really, really familiar with them, right? You're talking in a really close way. Well, that's kind of what's happening here. He's saying you're talking way too close to me. You're talking like you know me. You're talking like you're my buddy. You're talking like you're my friend. And this is where he's saying, nare nare shindayo. It's too over familiar. You're talking too close. You're my enemy. And so he says, koitsu de keri o tsukeru. So koitsu, he is referring to his sword. So this thing here, this one here, his sword. With his sword, keri o tsukeru. Now this is a really common expression to say to settle something, right? To finish something up. So here, keri o tsukeru is to bring it to an end. He's going to settle this dispute between them, right? Right now with this sword, koitsu de. So I'll settle it with this. And then Guts says, ore ga kattara. So that means if I win, ore ga kattara. Katsu here is to win. Tara is the hypothetical form. So if it's that I win, ore ga kattara, teme no mune ni ore no to onaji o ana o akete yaru yo. So teme no mune. Mune is the only new word we have in this sentence, and this is your chest, right? So here you can see he's pointing his sword to his chest. That is his mune. So teme no mune, your chest, ni ore no to onaji. So just the same as mine, or ana, the big hole, or akete yaru yo. I will open up. So he's saying, I will open up a huge hole in your chest, just like the one you gave me. And Griffith cheekily says, ore ga kattara. And if I win, ore ga kattara. And again, so much slang in this episode. This is learning how to swear here with Berserk. So here Guts says, heitai ni suru nari. So heitai is fine. That's just a soldier, right? So to turn me into your soldier. Now, suru nari, this means to do things like, right? So heitai ni suru nari, to do things like turn me into your soldier. Okama horu nari, suki ni shite na. So, okama here is the Japanese word for a male homosexual. So, here we can see that actually it means a pot or a volcanic crater, but it can also be one's buttocks or just an effeminate man or a homosexual. This is a very common word. I've seen this used on TV and things like that when people talk about, gay people. Okama is quite often used in a colloquial way. But interestingly, he says, okama horu. Horu means to dig. Okay, if you just think about it in that way, it just means to dig, right? This is a very, very normal word, horu. But if we have a look at the fourth definition, it also means for two men to have anal sex. I was not expecting to be talking about this in Berserk, but here we go. Lots of slang learning here, lots of dirty language. So, okama horu means to have gay sex. And then nari is to do things like. Suki ni shina means do as you like. So he's saying, look, you can make me your soldier or you can make me your boy toy. Whatever you want, right? Do whatever you want.
わかった
A very sly smile by Griffith. And he says, Wakatta, understood.
わかった力ずくっていうのも嫌いじゃない
This is a nice little line here. Here Griffith says, Chikara zuku teiyu no mo kirai janai. So, chikara zuku, chikara is your strength, and zuku is to exert something. So, to exert strength. So, by force. Chikara zuku teiyu no mo. So, the thing of doing things by brute force, kirai janai. I don't hate it. So, he's saying, look, I'm okay with taking by force.
力ずくっていうのも嫌いじゃない
グリフス
手を出すなキャスカ
And so Casca is running up the hill calling to Griffith, and Griffith calls out and he says, Teo dasu na, Casca. So teo dasu here is to actually get involved with something. Te is your hand, dasu is to put out. So to put out your hand, to get involved. Don't get involved. Teo dasu na, Casca.
手を出すなキャスカ
だけど
Dakedo, but
だけど
俺が欲しいものは絶対に手に入れる
and a very confident Griffith here, he says, Ore wa hoshii mono wa zettai ni te ni ireru. So, ore wa, as for me, hoshii mono, the things that I want, no wa, as for those things, zettai ni, this is a very useful word. This means definitely. One of the most common definitions of definitely is zettai ni. So, zettai ni means without fail, unconditionally, I will definitely te ni ireru. Te, your hand, ireru, to put in. This means to obtain. Very useful word here, te ni ireru. Whenever you obtain something in a game, like a potion or something, you might see this expression, te ni ireta, right? You obtained something. And so here he says, I will without a doubt obtain that which I desire.
俺が欲しいものは絶対に手に入れる
その人をなめくさった態度が気に食わねえんだ
Guts doesn't like that and he says, その人をなめくさった態度が気に食わねえんだ So, その is that. Hito or nameru means to underestimate a person. So hito is a person, nameru is to underestimate someone, so to make light of someone. But we can see it combined with name kusata. Now, kusaru usually means to rot, right? That's usually the definition of this word by itself. But if we have a look at the 6th definition of kusaru, here it means to have the audacity to do something, to be a bastard enough to do something. And you can see it's used after the mus stem of a verb, and it indicates disdain for their actions, another way of doing that. So here, name kusata taido is the attitude. Taido is your attitude that stinks, that rots of underestimating people. Hito o nameru. So, hito o name kusata taido ga, the attitude that underestimates people, kini kuanenda. So, kini kuanai means that you cannot stomach something, right? Ki is, we saw kind of the, the feeling of doing something, the kind of temperance to do something, and kuanai means you can't eat or you can't take in. So here he's saying that I can't stomach that action. Kini kuane or kini kuanai. So if we put it all together, that attitude that underestimates people, it pisses me off.
その人をなめくさった態度が気に食わねえんだ
Kuso, shit.
気を改めてもいいんだぞ
So Griffith is winning this exchange and Guts is kind of getting cut up. And so Griffith kind of cheekishly says, Hi o aratamete mo indazo. So he is the day, and then aratameru here means to actually change something, to revise something. So if you look at it with hi o aratamete, you could look at it as this set expression meaning to change the day, to do it another day, right? So hi o aratamete mo indazo means it's okay if we do this another day. It's okay if we, postpone this.
気を改めてもいいんだぞ病み上がりじゃ分が悪いだろ
Yami Agadi ja bu ga warui daro. So this first word is a very interesting one, Yami Agadi. Now this English word, I teach English, I don't know this word. I've never come across this word before. it sounds like a medical word. Perhaps you know it, perhaps you don't. But if we have a look at the Japanese explanation for this word, we can see that Yami Agadi is to be in the condition or state after being injured and you're kind of in this healing process where you haven't fully yet recovered, right? So that's what this convalescence means. It means that you are in the state of, still getting better. Yami is kind of a disease or an illness, and then Agadi is to come up from it. So it almost has this feeling of, you're still coming up from your illness. You're still getting better. Ja, that's why, or that's in the case, bu ga warui. Now, this is an interesting expression to say that you are at a disadvantage in something. You are in an unfavorable position. And so he's saying, because you're still recovering, you're at a disadvantage. Do you want to do this another day?
Yami Agadiじゃ部が悪い。
And then we see Guts swing his sword into the ground and he's kind of kicking up this dirt and he says, Nukase! So we already know nukasu is to kind of speak shit, right? To let out, speaking in a very vulgar way. And so here he's almost like saying, like shut the hell up, don't talk shit, that type of thing. Or like here in my translation, screw you. Nukase! And in one of the coolest scenes in Berserk, such a memorable scene, oh my god, here Griffith jumps on top of Guts' sword, avoids his attack and jumps on top, and now Guts cannot wield his sword. And so Griffith says, Katsu tame nara nandemo yaru. So katsu tame means for the sake of winning, nara, if it's for the sake of winning, nandemo yaru. Nandemo means absolutely anything. So you will do yaru, anything, nandemo, in order to win, katsutame.
Katsutame nara nandemo yaru. Masu-masu kini itta yo.
So masu-masu here usually is read only with hiragana, but we can actually see the kanji that actually where this expression comes from. And masu is to increase something. So masu-masu means more and more. So we can see how it means more and more, right? So masu-masu, more and more, kini ita. I'm becoming more and more interested in you.
Masu-masu kini itta yo. Daga, kono mama de wa ken wa furenai.
Daga, however, kono mama de wa, in this state, ken ga furenai. You cannot wield your sword. So, however, like this, you won't be able to wield your sword.
Daga, kono mama de wa ken wa furenai. どうする? もうやめにしてもいいんだぞ。
どうする? もうやめにしてもいいんだぞ。What will you do? It's okay to give up already.
どうする? もうやめにしてもいいんだぞ。
よくしゃべる野郎だな。
よくしゃべる野郎だな. So yoku means well or often, and so shaberu here is a verb to say to chat, to talk, to chatter. So he says, you talk a lot. Yoku shaberu yaro. So you're a bastard that talks a lot, huh? You're a chatty bastard.
そんなら教えてやる。
そんなら教えてやる. So そんなら is それなら, that being the case, 教えてやる. I will teach you.
そんなら教えてやる。戦じゃ口はこうやって使うんだ。
In a very iconic scene here, Guts takes the sword with his mouth and and he says, 戦じゃ口はこうやって使うんだ. So, 戦じゃ, if it's a battle, 口は, as for your mouth, こうやって, in this way, 使うんだ. You should use it. So, こうやって, as we see this new word, in this way. So, he is using his mouth in this way, right? This is how you should use your mouth in battle. It's a very, very cool scene, taking it. Very dangerous action, I think, taking a sword with his mouth. Let's see what happens.
戦じゃ口はこうやって使うんだ。どうだ自分の血の味は
And he took Griffith by surprise. And so here he says, どうだ自分の血の味は. So, どうだ is how is it. 自分の血, we've learned both of these words. It means your own blood. So, 自分の血の味, this is a new word, and this means the taste, the flavor. So, how does it taste, your own blood?
どうだ自分の血の味はその綺麗なお顔じゃまだ殴られたこともないんじゃねえのか
So first, the first new word is kirei. And this means pretty or beautiful. This is a very, very common word. Now, it isn't always written in kanji. It can be, and it actually has different kanji that it can be written as. You will definitely see it often in katakana or in hiragana, but here it is written in kanji. And so we can see sono kirei na o kao. Kao is one's face, and again we have the ot particle in front of kao to show some sort of honorifics. So here, clearly he's being polite in order to be rude, in order to be disrespectful, because it's so opposite his personality to be polite that it comes across as almost arrogant, right? So, sono kirei na o kao ja, with that kind of, pretty face, mada, so not yet, and then we have naguru. So naguru is to be hit, to strike. Nagurareta is the passive form, so to be striked, to be punched. So mada nagurareta koto mo nai means that you have never been hit, right? Koto mo nai means that you've never experienced something. Mada means still, not yet. So you haven't yet been punched, right? Janeka, janaika.
その綺麗なお顔じゃまだ殴られたこともないんじゃねえのか子分たちの前で悪いがこれで終わりだ
And so all of the people from the Band of the Hawk are coming up the hill. Guts notices this and he says, 子分たちの前で悪いがこれで終わりだ So just as he launches his punch, he says, look, I'm sorry to do this in front of your kobun. Kobun here is the henchman. Henchmen here, kind of the followers, the Band of the Hawk. Kobuntachi, so the plural, so more than one. Kobuntachi no mae de, in front of them. Again, we can see mae being used to mean in front. Warui ga, I'm sorry, but kore de, with this, owari da, it's the end. So owaru is the verb to end, but here it's a noun, the end. Owari da, it's the end. So he's saying he's going to finish it off with this punch.
子分たちの前で悪いがこれで終わりだ
聞いたよ今のはだがこれまでだ
But Griffith completely avoids that and slips past and actually grabs his arm and poof, holds him in a lock. And so now he's holding his arm in a lock and he says, 聞いたよ今のはだがこれまでだ So, kita, kiku here means to be effective. What was effective? The punch was. So, it was a good punch, right? Kita yo, that was a really good punch. Imano wa, that punch, right? Imano wa, imano, the thing that just happened, the punch, no wa, as for that. Daga, however, koremade da. This is up until now, right? Up until here, this is the end, right? He's saying just like, kore ga owari, koremade da. This is the end.
聞いたよ今のはだがこれまでだ負けを認めるか
Make o mitomeru ka. So make here is defeat. Makeru, the verb, means to defeat someone, but here just make is a noun and this means defeat. So make o, doing something with defeat, mitomeru. Mitomeru is to acknowledge, to admit. So will you admit your defeat? Make o mitomeru ka.
負けを認めるかそれともこのまま肩の関節を抜かれるか
それともこのまま肩の関節を抜かれるか So, それとも is when you give a choice. So, or else, or rather, or このまま, just like this. Kata is the shoulder. So you can see that he's got him in a kind of shoulder lock. So here he's talking about his shoulder, kata. Kata no kansetsu. Kansetsu is the joints, right? The joints inside your shoulder. Kata no kansetsu. Or, so doing something to the joints in the shoulder, nukareru, to be pulled out. So we've actually seen nukasu, right, to let something out. But here, just nuku means to pull out, right? So to pull out the joint in his arm, literally to dislocate his shoulder. Here being kata no kansetsu or nuku. So he's giving him a choice. Will you admit defeat, or will you choose to have your shoulder dislocated?
それともこのまま肩の関節を抜かれるか選べ
And very pleased look on his face, he says, 選べ, choose. So he's won, he knows he's won, and he's giving him a choice.
選べ
くそ
Kusotare. And again, we have some more slang swear words. This episode, oh my god, how many slang have we learnt? So, kuso is shit. Tare actually means to kind of to drip, to droop. Now, tare can also be sauce. But in this situation, it actually, when you look in the dictionary, the tare kind of means head. So kind of kusotare could mean like shit head, right? And that's often the translation. Now, I would actually more look at it like, instead of shithead, I would look at it more like eat shit, or, you know, something like that. But you know, kusotare, shithead, or eat shit, which is his way of saying no.
Kusotare.
これでお前は俺のものだ。
So Griffith picks Guts up with his hands and he says, これでお前は俺のものだ. So これで, with this, お前は, as for you, 俺のものだ. You are mine.
これでお前は俺のものだ。
言ったことない。
And Casca walks off and she says, 言ったことない. He's never said that before.
言ったことない。グリフスは誰にもあんなこと言ったことない。
Griffith は誰にもあんなこと言ったことない. So, as for Griffith, 誰にも here can be anyone, everyone, or even no one. So, because it's here with a negative, then it would be no one. 誰にも, to no one, あんなこと, that kind of thing, 言ったことない. He's never said. So, he's never said that to anyone. And that's it! Congratulations everyone for finishing episode 5 of the Game Gengo Vocabulary Series. So, you have now learned 200 new words, half of which are on the JLPT, and half of which are kind of extra words. But this was a really, really fun episode. Now, as I said before, it's probably not going to be monetized because the game unfortunately uses these beautiful cutscenes from the movie instead of making their own cutscenes for the game. So, you know, I think it's definitely worth using these clips, giving it a shot, because look, I think this has been a really special episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys had fun with it. Hopefully it's helped you with some of your study, had fun learning Japanese. You know, I probably won't be able to do much more like this. This is, you know, most of my other things will have to stick to more, you know, safer games. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this this episode here. This story is such a special thing to me. As I said before, this is the first anime that I really, truly loved. Right? Like, I liked Dragon Ball growing up. Everyone did, but Berserk was the first one that I was like, whoa, I love this. Like, this is whoa. I loved it so much that it's the only manga to this day that I own almost every single manga of. I bought them all, right? And I have them all, right? And the only other one that I even got close to was Vagabond. That's also a really cool story. But Berserk is my favorite by far. So, you know, with Kentaro Miura passing, that hit really hard. Really, really hard. This is the one story, more than any other story. This is the one story that I wanted to see, you know, conclude and come to an end. And, you know, it's been a part of my life for most of my life. And, you know, such a special story. So to be able to kind of, you know, do a kind of, a special episode, just, you know, showing my love for this series and having this on the channel and, you know, having fun learning, then I don't mind, you know, if there's no monetization. You know, as long as you guys had fun learning Japanese, that's all that matters. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. If you want to support the channel, please consider joining us on Patreon and joining us in the Game Gengo Discord, where we all learn Japanese together and have fun. As people keep telling me in the Discord, I need to kind of let you guys know more about how awesome it is, but pretty much it's just a place where, you know, you can hang out with me and everyone else in the community. I'm almost always online, so if you want to chat with me, I'm always available, and also always there to help you with your Japanese and stuff like that, and we all help each other. It's not just a kind of community by itself. I'm very much a part of it, so please feel free to join and, you know, pop in and say hi. if you would like. So that's it. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. This episode was a little bit longer, so I apologize for that. I will try and keep these vocab episodes to close to an hour. However, this was a really special one for me, and I didn't want to just cover that first battle, but I also didn't want to skip and kind of the story be, you know, disconjointed and kind of not connected. So I thought, screw it, let's just do the whole thing, and hopefully you guys enjoy. And I had a ball. This was a really, 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 really cool episode to make, and there's some really interesting language. We learned a lot of swear words. You know, you're gonna know how to pick a fight with someone after this episode. But also, it's just so beautiful. Like, I love this manga. I love the art style. I love the anime. The movies look great. So to be able to actually cover them because they're in the game, that's so special. So yeah, really, really fun. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, thank you so much, everyone, for all of your support. Seriously. Seriously. Thank you so much, guys. And yeah, I'll see you all again next time. Have fun learning Japanese. And I will see you in the next video. See ya.